Be advised, the digital graveyard contains the following: adult language, bad advice, and spoilers. There will be no further warnings. Consider yourself disclaimed.
Rectum, and I said, yeah, that's exactly what the doctor said. But oh, we're recording. It's the Digital Graveyard back again for episode 5. I'm your host, one of your hosts. I am one half of the Digital Graveyard. I'm the lovable Eric Graves. With me as always,
you got Bobby Digital here. Today is August 17th, the day we're recording. And how you been doing, Eric?
I've been moving, so I'm really sore. Like, really, really sore. It is a very difficult thing to move during a pandemic crisis with social distancing, let me tell you. I will, before we get further, I will point out that Bobby's microphone sounds different because due to COVID-related things, we can no longer record in our usual studio, and we have to record the first episode that we've done from home. But this is just another milestone. That's how I'm looking at it. We've made it as a podcast when we have to record from our homes. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like when we have to, try something different in order to make it happen.
I guess, yeah. None of this is ideal, but we're trucking on because we care about you, the listener, that much. Well, so I've been busy.
All 200 of you, maybe.
That's very generous. So yeah, I've been busy just doing physical stuff. I've been playing the shit out of No Man's Sky, or replaying, I should say, because I actually bought it at launch. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I remember. I didn't buy it because it just wasn't for me, but I remember a lot of people were pissed when that came out.
Yeah, no, I wasn't one of those people, but I remember people attacked me for defending it online when it came out. But to their credit, I played it once and then put it down and then started playing other things. And this is my story with No Man's Sky. They spent 3 years, I think I heard, developing that game. For those who don't know, it's not an open world. It's an open world sci-fi exploration game, but open world doesn't do it justice because it's open galaxy. There's literally millions and millions and millions of planets that are procedurally generated in this game that are completely undiscovered. Any player who starts on a random planet at some random point in this galaxy, and you may never encounter another player because that's how big this game is, and you have to discover animals and plants and rocks and minerals and stuff. It's kind of like the actual gameplay is a little bit like Minecraft, where it's sort of a chemical component building thing, but I recently picked it up because a friend of mine said that all the updates that they did since then, faced with all the criticism that it got when it came out, really made the game. And I was like, I couldn't believe that, but I checked it out, and yeah, the game is good. It got so good with all the upgrades. I remember, again, like I said, I bought it day one. I remember playing it 0 upgrades, and I don't know how to describe what they did exactly because it's just been so long, but the game isn't just a concept anymore. Look how big and massive this game is. Look at how you can explore the universe and things like that. Now the game is actually it's got purpose and things that make you want to keep playing, and I love it. It's what I've been playing for the last 2 weeks, honestly. So that's been me. It's been moving and No Man's Sky, and those have been the 2 things that I've been doing. How about you, Bobby? What have you been up to?
Well, since we're already talking about video games, I bought a bunch of games for my Switch.
Yeah.
I finally picked up Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Nice.
So, I've started playing that.
If I may interrupt, what are Switches running these days? Price-wise?
Well, there's the Switch Lite, which I believe is, I want to say the Switch Lite is $200.
Oh, damn.
Right, because that one's purely portable.
Up a Switch if that's the case.
Yeah.
Because I love me some Fire Emblem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fire Emblem's great. And then for the regular one that you can, plug into the TV and everything, that one's $300.
Oh, okay. So the Switch Lite is just the handheld version?
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. That might be for me.
Yeah, for some people, that's how I'll use it. So, yeah. But, yeah, picked up Fire Emblem 3 Houses and Freedom Planet.
Freedom Planet. I've not heard of that one. Well, I don't know
Freedom.
any Switch games, so why don't you explain what this one is?
So Freedom Planet is just kind of like it's an indie game that's designed to play like a Sonic game, like a classic Sonic game.
Oh, and
But
I guess for the listeners who might not know, Fire Emblem is a turn-based like fantasy battle simulator game, very famous Nintendo title. But go on.
yeah, Freedom Planet plays like a classic Sonic the Hedgehog game, but you get to play as one of like 3 characters who like have unique, attributes. Like one of them is able to do like combo attacks, while another one like rides a motorcycle through the levels.
Yes,
Another
combo
one's
attacks
able
while
to fly.
motorcycle riding. That's what every video game needs.
Right.
So I'm trying to. So it's a 3D Sonic-like game. What you're
No,
describing.
it's 2D.
Oh, it's 2D. So is it side-scrolling then?
Yeah, it's a side-scrolling game. Yeah,
Okay,
it
because
plays like the classic Sonic the Hedgehog.
What
game.
I was picturing in my head was kind of what the gameplay footage from what the new Crash game looks like. What you were describing.
Oh, sure.
Where you can where you can play as Crash or Coco or Dingo Dial apparently.
Why Dingo Dial?
That's so weird.
so
Why not
weird.
Tiny? Right? Like Tiny, I always thought was like the main villain, or
Well,
the
I'm
main
you either
hench-
play as Tiny or you play as like Cortex.
Yeah. Or I know they introduced like another jacked Bandicoot for one of the games, but I don't remember what his name was or what
Crunch.
his whole deal was. Crunch? Was that his whole thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Crash and Crunch.
That
and
was
Coco.
definitely when I stopped keeping track of Crash Bandicoot. But
Well, I think it was because in one of the games they were like, "Oh, we have to have the good guys over here and the bad guys over here." Well, there's only 2 good guys,
yeah,
so they're like, "Okay,"
Sure.
and move Crunch over to the good guy side.
totally get it. Totally get it. Not to distract from what you're talking about, Freedom Planet, but like, have you? I know you've seen the gameplay footage of the new Crash. What do you think?
I haven't seen the new game.
Oh, really? You
I
haven't
only saw
checked
the
it out
one
yet?
trailer.
Oh my
And that's
gosh,
it
it's
so
so
far.
good. It looks. I think that the first Crash Bandicoot level from Crash Bandicoot 1 is going to be playable in this game. But it's like, I mean, I know you've played a couple of the new Sonic games where it's like half side scrolling and half like 3D like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way you should do Sonic.
It looks like
nowadays,
that.
honestly.
I mean, it looks like that. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I played Sonic Forces. I thought it was great. It looks
Yeah.
like that. It looks like a modernized version of Crash Bandicoot, which always was 3D, but now it's a little more dynamic. They've given themselves a little room to play around with different platforms and different like 3-dimensional spaces of that. But also like what you're describing with Freedom Planet, which is why I brought it up. You have Crash and Coco, and then apparently Dingo Dial is now a playable character, and he's got like a flamethrower. It's and each one
That's so
can overcome certain aspects of it, much like they've been doing this in Sonic games for years, ever since Sonic and Tails.
Yeah.
But
add a new character to add some new gimmicks to the thing.
to add
Like,
some new dimension to like you say, a 2-dimensional side scroller.
Yeah.
So I'm very much excited for the new Crash game. Actually, I don't know. I'm probably not going to pre-order it or buy it right away. But if it's available on the PlayStation Network or if it's on sale someday, I'll probably pick it up. Maybe even before
for
then.
sure.
I didn't wait to pick up Spyro Reignited. I bought that before it went down in price because I
Well,
needed to play it.
you love Spyro. Like, didn't you like Spyro way more than Crash Bandicoot?
Given the choice between the two, yeah, I'd say my favorite was Spyro. Of
Yeah.
the two of them, I definitely had more Spyro games than I had Crash games. But that's it's. Do you
They're
like
barely
Mario or
in
Luigi?
competition. Like, if you like one, then you kind of like the other.
Well, they were both PlayStation titles. It's like saying I like Super Mario more than I like Yoshi's Story. It's like, yeah, of course you like Super Mario more than Yoshi's Story. But they're both the same thing. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're the same. Like, they're under the same umbrella. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I can like them both. Like,
Yeah, so Bobby, I would encourage you to check out the gameplay trailer because there's also like, I guess, they also showed there's costumes too, which of course you have to have like unlockable costumes in this day and age. You got to have a billion unlockable items, but
yeah, there's got to be reasons to come back.
But there's also like, I guess, I don't know if this is going to be like a hard mode or if it's something you can choose from the beginning. But there's like the inverted mode, which is mirrored. The levels are all mirrored, so you can replay through them in reflected, But
So you start at the end point and you make your way to the beginning?
no, I think it's just a difference. Like, you turn left the first time. Well, this time you're going to turn right. But
Oh.
the inverted mode is black and white, and you have to recolorize the levels as you go through them. So
Okay.
that is a little bit interesting. I've never seen that done before. That might add a new interesting level of gameplay, especially because this is one of the first solely family games that PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation's getting better about that, but no one's going to buy Crash Bandicoot and think it's going to be not child friendly. You know what I mean?
Well, like the PS4 was really big on like story-driven games, first of
Yeah.
all. But then like you got the multiplayers and then anime.
Yeah, no, JRPGs.
A lot of anime
If
games.
you want to play JRPGs, you buy a PlayStation.
Right.
Nintendo can't even compete. An Xbox is never going to make an attempt to compete. It's like if you want to buy family games, you get Nintendo, but that doesn't have to be the case. But that's kind of the case. You know what I mean? Like if you have kids, there's a plethora more titles on the Switch than there are on the PlayStation, and a hell of a lot more than there are on the Xbox.
Well,
I'm
and just
assuming, I
like
don't
a
know.
good comparison is like, so that you got that Dragon Ball Fighters game, right?
Yeah.
And like Namco Bandai has put out like the statistics of like way more people buy it for the PlayStation than any other console,
Yeah, no,
even though it's available on all.
it makes a ton of sense. It makes tons of sense because people who already buy anime games have bought their PlayStations because there's a bigger umbrella of JRPG and anime related titles. I'd say they're probably, I'm gonna just guess, the bulk of people who play like the Call of Duties and the Modern Warfares and what have you probably have Xboxes, right?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, that doesn't sound insane. I don't have the data in front of me, but that's the same reason why Nintendo is somebody who wants to buy family games or child appropriate games is probably going to buy a Nintendo. It's something that Nintendo has locked down from the beginning, but it's like PlayStation and Xbox have kind of found their niche as well. And we've had this conversation in various flavors over the years because we could read the writing on the walls. We could see this coming a little bit, but it kind of very naturally seems to be the case. Like that they locked themselves into their place right now, and can they continue indefinitely going forward? Who knows? I mean, I'm not an expert on the console wars. None of us are experts. I feel like we got to repeat that every episode.
Yeah.
We don't know much about what we're talking
The
about.
only thing I'm an expert of is in love.
Yeah, that's true.
The only thing.
And the
All right.
only thing I am an expert of is pre-colonial Russian history, and that can't get you a job anywhere these days. So let's move on. We got way off the rails. You were talking about this Freedom Planet game. Do you have anything more to say about that, or can we move on to some of the first?
Literally, I've only played like the first 2 levels. Like I'm not far in that game at all. I bought that like 2 days ago.
All right. Oh wow. That's super recent news then.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah. Let's get to some news.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay, we said back on our like pilot episode that if there's Batman news, we'll start with that.
Did we say
that? We did. We said that like on our pilot episode that, no one's ever gonna hear, but
for real, that sounds like something we'd say.
But big news came out of Warner Brothers. There's just like a third of all of their staff just across the board have been let go.
Oh damn. Wait, what's so not DC. This is like Warner Brothers.
It's Warner Brothers in general. It extends to DC.
Yeah.
But like it's all of it. And it's not just like we're firing the assistants and the bagel boys. Like high CEOs and editors and chiefs and stuff like that. They're all getting let go too.
Wow, this on the heels of the news that one of the largest Midwestern franchisees of Pizza Hut is like closing 300 stores. This is the darkest timeline for sure. So has anything? Yeah, I just read that today. How messed up is that? Pizza Hut's fine, but it's a local franchisee that's getting screwed. But we're not here to talk about the business of pizza parlors, Bobby. We're here to talk about nerdy things.
Right.
So what is there any other information behind why? Like, why is this happening right now? Especially Warner Brothers had a lot of plans for movies and things. And
yeah, from the sounds of it, it has a little there's a few moving parts. Like part of it is that it's part of a merger between HBO.
Okay. All right.
So like, yeah, when mergers happen, like stuff like that tends to happen. But a third of the staff is huge.
It's enormous.
Like,
That's and it makes sense because look at Marvel with Disney. Disney is one of the fifth largest companies in the world, right? Like,
yeah,
HBO is a very profitable company, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of good stuff because of this merger, but it's not Disney, and thusly, like, things are going to have to move around. We tend to look at, like, the monster that Disney has become of titles and properties and think like, oh, well, everybody can do that, right? Well, I guess the reality of that just isn't the case, and that's seems to be sort of the evidence, right, of what we're talking about. That would be my guess anyway.
yeah. The only like big news that has really come out of it is how DC and all of its extended stuff is being affected. So
Yeah.
like, you got the DC Universe app, right? Or yeah, the streaming service.
Yeah, that had the Harley Quinn show on it, and other shows
Yeah.
too, I'm assuming.
They're like all those shows are moving to HBO.
Yeah, and we kind of
HBO Max.
assumed that was happening. Again, like the writing on the wall was sort of there. It looked like that was in the cards for HBO for DC Universe when this HBO merger was announced.
Right. But the kind of upside of it is that DC Universe is still gonna have comics available to it, and will most likely have like comics go digital to that first.
That makes sense because why would HBO Max dedicate a whole new digital comics it's not the same as streaming. It's probably similar. I don't know. We're not experts. But why would they any additional like medium like that is going to require some degree of programming that might require a lot of manpower and a lot of effort. So why not just leave that aspect of DC Universe intact and have that be like the ESPN to Disney Plus? You know what I mean?
Right. Like it exists, and if you want to come to it, let's do that. But otherwise, like it's not costing us much more.
Yeah, I see the logic in it.
So right off the bat, DC Comics was like, okay, we're canceling a ton of books.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah. So let's just go through. This is just so far confirmed. We got Batgirl, Batman and the Outsiders, Justice League Odyssey.
Okay.
The Batman's Grave, Metal Men, Teen Titans.
There was a Metal Men comic series going on right now.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah.
Wait, Teen Titans?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Young Justice.
All right.
Suicide Squad. Hawkman and Hellblazer.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I get Hawkman, I get Hellblazer, Suicide Squad, Teen Titans. That's painful, man. I haven't been keeping track. I haven't been reading paper comic books in so long, but that's a painful one. That hurts more than I thought it would. Honestly.
Yep. And every news story I've seen has been like, and there's probably more to come. Also, every single one keeps name dropping Aquaman, but like it's not canceled.
Weird. Weird.
They're just like, I don't know if they're trying to be like it should be canceled.
I guess I don't. Yeah, I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
It's. Yeah, I mean, there's just, like you said, so many moving parts behind this. Who could possibly, if we were in the room when it happened, Yeah. I'm not gonna sing the song from Hamilton because then we'll owe them rights. But that's what I'm thinking. Right, that's how I feel right now.
Yeah. So
we'll never be able to know.
Jim Lee is right.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
He was an editor-in-chief at DC. And those of you who don't know Jim Lee, he's like most famous for back when he worked at Marvel. He created the best-selling comic of all time, which is X-Men #1.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, yeah, of course, that Jim Lee.
Yeah, that Jim Lee, yep. So, like, and, he eventually created the Wildstorm books back at Image.
Yeah,
and DC was like, we want to buy it, and he was like, okay, you can buy it if you give me a job.
I was gonna say, like, the Jim Lee, he's not McFarlane, and he's not oh God, how come I can never remember his name? The other guy, Liefeld. He's not Rob Liefeld. But the other,
But
I was
he's one
gonna
of
say,
them.
like, Jim Lee was one of the founders of Image, right?
Yeah.
So one of the most legendary. I think most legendary might be a little too generous, but I think the word comic book legend applies to Jim Lee.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like his name is behind the best-selling book of all time.
Yeah, and then I mean the third biggest. Well, is Dark Horse the third biggest or is Image? I don't know.
I'd say
one of-
Images now.
One of the bigger small publishers that isn't DC or Marvel, you know.
Right.
A very successful publisher. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. He got his way up to editor-in-chief at DC Comics, and apparently he's been demoted.
Whoa.
He wasn't fired, but he's no longer editor-in-chief.
Okay. Wow.
But he's gone on records being like, we're still gonna be making comics. We just need to like reformat, restructure.
Yeah, I heard. I think I saw some headlines about him specifically in all of this, and I didn't know what the deal exactly was. But thank you for elaborating on that.
Well, he did come out to say like he does feel that digital comics are the future.
Sure. Yeah.
That doing it paper is not really like ideal anymore.
I mean, I don't think that the paper medium is going anywhere anytime soon, but I feel like services like DC Universe are definitely going to be the standard going forward. You know what I mean?
What I think they should do is, if we keep making comics, do the digital.
Yeah.
And do those as kind of like what is a single issue normally.
Is do the digital your pickup line when you're out and about?
Do the digital, yeah, totally.
That's a T-shirt.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like on digital you do the like weekly, bi-weekly like issues coming out.
Sure.
But then when we want to make it physical, you release it in a trade or a graphic novel. Like that's how you do it from now on.
Yeah. Or maybe like I think that, what do they call them? Like the fireside books or something like that was when some of the first trade paperbacks that were ever released. They were these large, like phone book sized newsprint comics, and it was just I saw them on Comic Book Man one time. Or to maybe put it a little more contemporary, the Shonen Jump books that were very popular when we were kids. Something like that, like DC Today or something like that, like a couple of issues of the things that they are most proud of this month. You know what I mean? That might be an option too. And then like for the real dedicated paper subscription fans, like that could be an option for them. But yeah, like I mean, the writing on the wall, like I've said 3 times today already in this episode, it's where the industry's headed. No one can say otherwise. What the industry leaves behind is just in the cards, So
I do find it funny because for the last few years, people have been saying like, Marvel's gonna tank soon because they're like, let's be fair here, they're pretty pandering.
Yeah.
They create some characters just to kind of pander to certain demographics.
Totally. They're always the woke comic characters. You know what I mean? I mean, they've had how many gay weddings up until this point? Kind of a lot. Like, the first one was what? North Star and
I don't know the other guy's name, but yeah, North Star.
And that was like what, 2009, 2008 or something?
Yeah, that was fair and cool to do.
That was a big deal at the time.
I want to say Hulkling and Wiccan are now married.
See, it's just like they've had so many at this point, and that's totally fine. But it's always like a talking point with them. You know what I mean? It's never just like, oh, yes, this is our new superhero. Happens to be gay. Like, not a big deal. It's always like, this is the sell. So that's what, I mean, we're describing.
Did you hear about that New Warriors that they tried to redo?
No, I haven't. I'm sort of touch of just the month-to-month comics, Bobby. I'm dreading going back to the comic book store after all this is said and done, because if they still have my pull box, I guarantee I'm going to have to take out like a loan to pay for it all. That's how behind
it's
I
a
am
long
on
box. Like, yeah. No, so Marvel was like, we're rebranding the New Warriors. They're going to be like new teenage heroes, right?
Sure.
Um, oh my God, they were so cringy.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, here's a guy who can communicate with the internet,
Ugh.
and
Ugh.
and and here's a vampire guy whose name is B negative,
Ugh.
and oh, my favorite too, uh, Safe Space
Ugh.
and Snowflake.
Ugh. I don't like any of it. I don't like any
And
of that. I
right, it's all so cringy, and you
I
know what?
really don't.
No one liked it.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, and
everyone hated it.
yeah, I don't. I'm not. I feel dirty from you describing them to me. is that normal? Oh my god.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, Marvel Comics, what you do?
yeah,
But
it's a
but
shame
yeah,
because
so DC's in a really interesting position right now. Like, I've actually like talked with some of the comic shop owners, and they're like, we're already having issues like ordering the books we were gonna get.
wow,
Like, so it's just messed up, like all the
for
way.
real.
Yeah.
Well, it is. I
And
mean,
and obviously a lot of Warner Brothers projects are like being delayed right now
I'm
due to
also
this.
certain that COVID probably had a hand in this as well. I can't say for
Probably.
sure, but you feel like just it's affected everything in so many unexpected ways, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked as like, okay, well, maybe this merger wouldn't have had these impacts if the paper suppliers weren't affected by this or something like that, you know what I mean? It's who can possibly say, but it is we're not here to figure out why it's happening. We're just here to deal with the fallout, and we're here to talk about it on the internet for our podcast.
Right.
All right. Any other topics of note
Not
involving DC and
not
Warner
from
Brothers?
DC. Not from
Okay.
DC for now.
Well, let's move along then. What else
Okay.
is in the news?
Okay. So Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah, I know where this is gonna go.
Everyone like, yeah, this year it just had a big like resurgence just because Netflix added it, which
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all should have been watching it to begin with.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you all should have been watching it on Nickelodeon when it first came out, but you didn't want to because you were frickin' adults, and adult cartoons weren't for grown-ups, they were for children. Well, that's a wrong-headed idea, and if you're listening to this right now, you need to not think that way. I'm gonna tell you, cartoons are great, and Avatar is such a jewel. It really is, and I rewatched it when it came out, and I just last night actually started rewatching Legend of Korra. Um,
same. I never finished Legend of Korra.
I never
So
finished the
I'm
first
enjoying
Avatar.
watching it right now.
I, I
Like,
I remember watching the first story arc of Legend of Korra. I never got farther than that, and I never actually finished Last Airbender either. So
yeah,
far, I mean, I might be making enemies on the internet. I think Korra's better.
I
It's
disagree.
It's so good, dude. I mean, maybe it's because I'm such an animation nerd, and clearly the animation budget on Legend of Korra was through the roof because it's beautiful how many moving parts they have on screen. It blows my mind. The professional bending games are nuts
Yeah.
to me. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like Airbender, I feel, is better just because the characters are like better and they're very like, multifaceted.
They're
Like,
younger too, and that's always
they
a
are
more
younger.
interesting dynamic. Um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
do
I don't
like
know.
that Korra is like distinctly different from Aang.
Oh, totally.
Like,
But you can tell it's because it's the Avatar is reincarnated every time. You can tell she's still like, it's a lot of the same like morals and virtues and personality traits, but in a very different upbringing that
right.
created a very different character. And a woman. It's just it really is a delight. It's a gem. It's a gem of animation.
They're both great. Like, whichever one's your favorite,
They're both great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're both really good shows. But because The Last Airbender got so popular, like Netflix was like, okay, we're gonna make a live action series.
What could
Like,
possibly go wrong?
right. But they got the two creators of the show like to work on it,
I know.
which like right away is great. They announced this week that they are walking away from that project.
Yeah, I read about it too. I'm sure everybody who's familiar with the source material, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender, and well, just The Last Airbender. It's not Legend of Korra that they're remaking. But everybody who's familiar with the source material is, I'm sure, aware why that this is a gutting feeling, because they did already try to make a live action Last Airbender. It was M. Night Shyamalan. We saw it in the theaters when we were in high school, and that was a mistake.
Yeah, it was the worst. It was like literally the worst.
So bad, and it's not even like, it wasn't even like, I remember watching it thinking like, yeah, okay, it's like, it's whatever. It's not that bad. It's like lame.
See,
and then like it slowly creeps in over a couple of days how truly awful that movie was. It was
and
such
it's not even like so bad. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like watching like Dragon Ball Evolution. Like it was actually just bad.
Yeah, or like Fantastic Four, where it's like, how could you make such a colossal steaming pile of crap as Fantastic Four? Like it's just like, it's like a genuinely bad movie, and that, like, the worst kind of bad movie, and that it just didn't understand the source material fully. It's like, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, and the movie needs to end. Like, it's so soulless and heartless. It's Suicide Squad. It's exactly all the things that were wrong with the Suicide Squad movie was wrong with Legend of The Last Airbender, and that was, of course, hanging over this project, because anyone and everyone who knows that story was feeling the same thing that we were feeling. Was that like, okay, well, good luck. And then the notion that the creators were involved somehow gave us a sense of security, at least to some degree, because Gerard Way was involved with Umbrella Academy, and Umbrella Academy is completely off the rails from the source material, but it's still very, very good, and with the same spirit of the books, of the first two books.
Right, and you could even argue that, like, yeah, them making this live action series for Netflix, well, maybe they'll be allowed to do things that they wanted to do on Nickelodeon, but knew they couldn't get away with.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and at every step of the way, it would have had the heart and soul of the source material. I also will mention the Dark Crystal because I have to mention it at least once every episode. But that's the same thing too. It was the Henson Studios. They had all of the same character designers. They even had the kid from Labyrinth working on the set. Is like everybody involved in that was like all the voice actors loved the original too. Like everybody involved with that was completely knew exactly what the show needed to be, and Netflix has a pretty good track record of doing that too. Like, look at The Witcher is so accurate too, and people loved it. There was reason to be optimistic about this, and now it's like this hollow
that excitement's kind of gone.
Yeah, it's hollow. It's gutting, you know.
So for a long while, people were like, "Why did you guys step away?" Right? So, Michael Dante DiMartino. He's one of the two guys, right? So he actually just posted a letter a little bit ago, like 2 days ago, saying exactly why he left.
All right,
go ahead. He said, "I also sought wisdom from Stoic philosophers who were big on differentiating between what is within our control and what isn't.
Oh, of course.
I realized I couldn't control the creative direction of this series. But I could control how I responded to it.
Oh, man.
So I chose to leave the project. It was the hardest professional decision I ever had to make. And certainly not one I took lightly, but it was necessary for my happiness and creative integrity."
That's literally the most Avatar response he could have done. Like, of course that guy created Avatar.
Yeah. It was like, okay, so he left because Netflix or whatever,
Hollywood bullshit,
whoever was like, no, we want to make it this way, but they're like, well, that's not how we want to make it.
It's Hollywood bullshit. It's exactly the same story of every failed remake. It's tragic. It's really horrible. And you know, is it going to be bad? Maybe not. It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign, and especially when that's his response. You know, that's the creator's response. The creator said, "I didn't like this." In so many words, I didn't like what they wanted to do, so I left.
Right.
That's what he's saying. You know, it's Hollywood bullshit.
And the two of them have said many times, like, they had nothing to do with the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
No, of course not.
Which is clear.
Of course not.
Yeah, they were like, we were never even asked.
Why would the Earthbenders be enslaved on just regular ground. What are they gonna? It's the dumbest part of that movie. In the show, they're in an iron barge in the middle of the ocean. But it's like, oh no, they're in like an internment camp. No, it makes sense. I'm sorry. I'm still upset. It's been like what? It's been like 15 years. I'm still so upset.
Yeah. I will say the only good thing I will say about that movie, I kind of like Aang's tattoos.
I like I mean, there are elements that clearly they put a lot of effort into like set design and costuming and stuff. You know,
but they didn't put that same amount of effort into finding actors.
It just they were just drab, child stars, and the direction was not what it needed to be, and the story was not good. The editing even is just terrible. Like scenes, there's no transition between scenes. Why, man? Like it's.
Well, and the name changes are weird, and M. Night tried to say like, well, this is how they would actually be pronounced.
Oh yeah, he called him Ong, didn't he?
He called him Ong, and it was like Sokka.
Yeah. Lame. I forgot about that.
There were a couple others that were weird, but like Zuko was normal.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I can't fuck up that name, I guess.
Anyway, I mean, it's the darkest timeline. It's not great news. I wish it was better, but it's not.
Yeah. It kind of sucks because this week Netflix was very much like, oh, we got Legend of Korra now, like to hype you up for more like Avatar stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and no.
Yeah.
But the show's still gonna go forward. Without him, obviously.
Yeah, but, of course. They've sunk too much money into it now at this point.
Yeah. Like, Netflix has said time and time again, like, we want our own, in their words, we want our own Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because The Witcher was, like, their own Game of Thrones. Troll Hunters was, like, their own, I don't know, Adventure Time in a way. They've got the Midnight Gospel is like their own Rick and Morty to an extent. I mean, Netflix is Xbox when the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube were out. They're just like, whatever we can get, whoever's been rejected by a bunch of big studios, we'll scoop them up and we'll give them a chance and we'll see if it's great, Like Stranger Things, it's their Walking Dead. Like everything on Netflix is comparable to something else that exists either on TV or in the movies. I mean, just call me the pessimist. I don't see how this live action The Last Airbender could be good enough to be their Harry Potter. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so I don't know.
Oh, because you know what? The Harry Potter movies had J.K. Rowling behind him.
Yeah.
Like she was like there on set and gave the thumbs up on a lot of decisions.
That's what it is, man. It's tough to find the silver lining in this situation. But don't hold judgment until later. That's what I always say. Well, all right. I'm depressed as hell, and you did this to me, Digital. So let's move on to something else. God
do you want me to do like one of my more happier stories?
Are there any?
Yeah, there is one.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, let's halftime with something that's not terrible before we can feel bad again.
This one's really short and sweet. But so in Disneyland, there's a restaurant called Carnation Cafe.
Okay, what's that? Is that a reference to something?
No, like it's just called that. It's on Main Street. There's a lot of like restaurants that are just kind of like they were there when the park opened, so they weren't really based on anything.
Yeah. Sure.
But so Carnation Cafe has had a chef named Oscar Martinez working there since it opened, and he retired about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So he's sunk in about 60 years.
Wow.
Like working at the Disney parks.
Isn't Oscar Martinez the character on The Office?
Oh my God.
Wasn't that his name?
Oh my God.
The actor's name was Oscar Nunez, I think, but I think because a lot of the characters had the same first names as the actors.
Yeah, they just changed their last names for whatever reason.
I'm pretty sure his name was Oscar Martinez.
Okay, yeah, damn.
I'm going to picture him, this whole story, you going forward, I'm going to picture Oscar Nunez as Oscar Martinez in The Office as this guy, and I encourage the audience to do the same. So go on, continue.
So, Oscar Martinez, he retired a couple years ago. So fans have petitioned that that Disneyland should change the name of the restaurant.
The fans petition this?
like people, yeah.
Oh
Like
wow, that's
because this
great.
guy, in addition to like working there every day, like would come out like often and like meet with the customers and
Oh
you know
wow.
like give his honest opinions on things and like he added to the Disneyland experience.
And there are plenty of people who go to Disneyland like once a year too. You know, the old comic book shop guy that I went to go see when I lived in Iowa. Well, every year he goes to Disneyland.
Yeah,
And so it wouldn't be that shocking to me that people like know this guy because there is a culture around it that and people who live in the area obviously go there. You know, whenever
yeah.
they can, because that's their theme park. Um,
But yeah,
wow.
they
Yeah.
want to rename the restaurant to Oscar's Carnation Cafe.
Aw. And then
And
make a
like
Disney movie about it.
right,
That's what
and
they should do
like
next.
since the petition's gone out, people have just been like sharing pictures they took like with him, like there and everything, like from their past visits. It's like
I don't
it's
think it's enough. I'm gonna say it right now. I think they should make one of those short films that goes before every Pixar movie. I think they should make one about this guy.
I'm down for it.
Do
Yeah,
it, Disney.
and
Do it,
like all
you
the pictures I see
cowards.
of him, he looks like he's a sweet old man.
Yeah,
Like,
no. We all saw The Office. He's adorable. That guy. Picturing him in
yeah.
my head right now.
So I mean, that was it. A really like just I hope Disney does it. For no real reason other than just like it's sweet, it's cute.
So it's not. Yeah, I mean, Disney could always use more, puff stories like that. You know, what
Yeah.
you can't have enough good karma, especially when you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. But that's just me. That was a nice little story there. Now let's bring on
Yeah.
the heart-wrenching tragedy. Go ahead, Bobby. What? No, I know it. Go
Okay.
ahead. What's next?
All right. Uh, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air is in the works. Reboot of it,
I have
and
heard this. Yeah.
it's said to be dark and dramatic.
Really? Because I knew it was going to
Right.
be a drama. I knew it was going to be serious, but I didn't like dark and dramatic was not something that I had heard attached to the project yet. So that's something.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Will Smith is attached. I doubt he's actually starring in it. He might make an appearance. But yeah, Will Smith is teaming up with Quincy Jones to create a serious-minded new version of his hit sitcom based on a viral trailer
Really,
that
Quincy
came out a couple years
Jones?
ago.
Huh.
Yeah,
You
Quincy
don't hear
Jones.
about Quincy Jones producing television shows that much. I don't know if I mean I don't anyway. If the fans want to correct me and show me like a bunch of other shows that he produced, then by all means. Quincy Jones was a like an R&B singer. Also, I think if it's the same Quincy Jones, Rashida Jones' father.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's the same guy.
oh good. Oh cool. Yeah. So it's I am thinking of the right Quincy Jones. Interesting.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, like a YouTube video came out. Like a dark version of this, like those kind of movie trailers,
I
like
read a
fake
dark
trailers.
fanfic about about the Fresh Prince of Bel Air once. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like not even a couple years ago. It was just last year. It's just called Bel Air. Like all of you look it up on your own time. It is neat to watch.
Yeah,
But
we'd show it to you if we could, but this is an audio medium, and I don't think it would translate very well. But go on.
yeah, but like yeah, it looks good, and I guess Will Smith saw it and was like, "Oh, let's make that happen."
Weird. Really weird, man. But
So yeah, it's gonna be all dramatic and everything. It says it's going to hit HBO Max because of course it is.
do you
Um,
feel like this might be a response to the success of shows like Riverdale?
oh, you know what? It could be
It
because
just
not
popped
only
into my head just
Riverdale, you
now.
also had Sabrina.
Yeah, it just popped into my head just now. Because obviously Archie comics and Sabrina are way older than the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, but it is like it's such a nostalgic thing that was such a wholesome part of our childhood and a lot of people's childhoods, um, and it much like Archie comics was always the wholesomeness was derived from the very special episodes, the whole very special episode culture of television in the 80s and 90s. And there were a lot, Bobby. I mean, I won't go into details unless you want to, but in confidence, you have told me that there were episodes of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that made you cry, which is
I'll
understandable.
tell the world right now, the episode where his father comes back,
Yeah.
like that, I can't watch at all to this day without crying.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, of course, and there were that was, I think, a lot of people would have in mind like the very special episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but there were others. There were tons of others, about gang violence and drugs and gun
guns
culture,
and stuff like that. Yeah,
and and yeah, his I mean, single being raised without a father, it was an ongoing theme of that, and how his uncle is a father figure to him, even though they're at heads butting heads all the time.
I love Uncle Phil in that.
Oh yeah.
Rest in peace, Avery. Dang.
I don't remember his name.
James Avery.
James Avery, the voice of Shredder.
Yeah.
I know. And also, I was gonna mention, not Carlton. What was his name? The butler. He had some great stories too, man. That dude.
Yeah. Yeah. He kept saying that like he was like a part of like some British military, like he was a big deal. Like,
I remember he graduated from like a really prestigious university too. Like there were and there's an episode where like his son doesn't want to be a butler, and I remember that was another very special episode. So it's like, again, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a comedy, just like Saved by the Bell, and just like all those other after-school shows. But there's the drama and the morals were always there. They were present in all TV at the time in the 80s. The television had to have a succinct set of morals, and you aren't really able to tell all the stories that you want when you're also trying to entertain people in that kind of format. So some people might take this news as like, oh, we are in the darkest timeline, like I've said several times. I mean, we're absolutely still in the darkest timeline, but I'm actually surprisingly not that pessimistic about this, believe it or not.
Well, like, I'm definitely gonna check it out. Like, it's piqued my interest enough.
Yeah.
And the fact that it has Will Smith, like, at least to some capacity, like, involved.
Yeah,
like,
of course. As we've already said, that's such an important part of any reboot creative goal. Which I mean, people have been rebooting things since the 30s. As long as there have been movies, there have been reboots of movies. But
yeah,
it's definitely something that has more often than not ends up kind of bad. I'll say it.
Yeah, more often than not. But just kind of reading the rest of this article here. So Peacock showed a teaser trailer. NBC's new streaming service, Peacock.
Yep, I'm aware of it. I don't know it.
They premiered a teaser trailer for a new Saved by the Bell.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Is it also dark and gritty?
Yeah. And that follows news of an updated version of Daria, Who's the Boss, Ren and Stimpy, Beavis and Butthead.
And they're all dark and gritty.
Yep.
Beavis and Butthead have guns now.
Brandy, the actress Brandy.
Yeah.
Shared that she is in discussions to return as Moesha for next Netflix.
Moesha just got uploaded to Netflix too.
Yeah.
Moesha's on Netflix now. Oh my god. I wondered why that was on like the front page of everything. Holy shit, that makes so much sense. Everybody's trying to do the dark, gritty reboots of 80s and 90s sitcoms now.
Well,
we cracked
in Moesha's case, I think they're just going to do the Fuller House like route.
Oh, maybe.
But
I don't know. I still stand by my theory that that's the next big trend in television and movies is going to be dark and gritty reboots of feel good after school TV. It's happening.
Like of these shows I just listed, I think Daria will remain more or less the same.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it'll just be a cynical like outcast.
Okay, but how are you gonna change Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy?
I don't think you will.
I think those are going to be just more episodes of Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy, because that's what they were when Beavis and Butthead came back to MTV for the first time. It was just more of the same.
Well, And I will say that Ren and Stimpy got ruined when they were like, let's make an adult version.
Yeah, I never
Like
watched it, so I guess I can't say for sure.
it was better when it was still on Nickelodeon because they were like, well, now we have to like scoot past the censors.
Yeah, and that's
Like, we had to be creative.
the
Whereas like
insane history of Ren and Stimpy, and everyone should. Has anyone made a documentary about how insane John K was, or just how nuts the whole process of having Ren and Stimpy exist was in the early days of Nickelodeon?
I don't know, but there's a art book of his at my local comic shop that I like. I want to buy it.
Oh, you should know his style is so great. I mean, he did a lot of other short-lived cartoons and animation as well. But that dude was nuts, dude, and he was always trying to like push the bars of what could possibly be on anyone's mind as children's entertainment. Like he constantly, because I know he wanted to do like he was behind the adult version of Ren and Stimpy. Like that was him, you know?
Yeah.
And
well,
I know,
like that show was ruined because it was like, well, now I can show everything I want.
Yeah,
like, wow.
and he got fired from like after the first season of Ren and Stimpy, I think, which was like 90 episodes because there was no standardized format for episode length or season length for animation back in the 90s. But I just like the stories I've heard about that guy was he was like the worst person to work with ever. And just sometimes rightfully, sometimes not so much, but always at odds with censors, always at odds with Nickelodeon, always at odds with people who were footing the bill for his animation. And somebody should make a documentary because the guy is nuts, and the story behind Ren and Stimpy is completely insane as well. You could make, you know what? You can make a dark, gritty reboot of the Ren and Stimpy, the creation of Ren and Stimpy as like a drama on MTV. I bet you like that. Netflix, get on it. Do that. That's the docudrama you should make. It's the creation of Ren and Stimpy.
Oh gosh, how are we doing on time?
We're a little past the 50-minute mark, so we got to start wrapping up here pretty soon. I know you've got at least one more story, right? In the news.
I mean, I have a really short one just because we don't care too much about Xbox, but
yeah, that's our bias. Sorry, internet.
Xbox Series X will not be launching with Halo Infinite. That has been delayed.
Okay.
It just says till 2021 because the Xbox Series X is releasing in November.
So, sorry, first-person shooter fans. You're just going to have to deal with one of the other 6 launch title first-person shooters that are coming to the Xbox Series X.
Well, like, it is weird because every Xbox is launched with Halo.
Yes, that is a little weird. I mean, it definitely is their thing, Halo wasn't a launch title on the first Xbox, was it?
If it wasn't a launch title,
I thought it came out a few years later.
Definitely when it came out, it was like, oh, I gotta have an Xbox.
Well, that was definitely like Halo was the game of that year. I remember. Of course, yeah. I was so young though. I was probably in elementary school. Like, so I wasn't keeping track of things like that.
I couldn't even think of what launched for it. I mean, I had it. I know Soul Calibur 2 was a launch title though.
Oh, all right. Yeah, well, yeah, that was on all consoles. Anyway, yeah, is there any reason why cited in this article about why what the delay is for?
I mean, all it says is that they're like looking to, refine and touch up things. Like it wasn't going to be ready like by November.
All right.
Which is good. I love it when like a game developer is like, we don't want to push it out before it's ready,
Yeah, and that is definitely something.
That's how you get Street Fighter V.
That's how you get that's how you get the Xbox 360, Bobby.
True.
I mean, I'm not wrong.
True. No, you're totally right.
They wanted to get it out as fast as they could to make as much money to maximize their profits, and they ended up having to, the whole red ring of death, which arguably will be the synonym of the Xbox 360. I mean, it's overshadowed because it was a quality console and it had a lot of good games and also all that, but the PlayStation 3 never there was problems with the PlayStation 3, but not nearly on the level of, if the ring on your Xbox turns red, it's now a brick and you have to send it in and they'll send it back to you for free.
Right.
But that's you're going to be a week without video games. Like I don't understand how you can release a console with that fatal flaw in its for the sole purpose. They weren't even hiding it for the sole purpose of beating the other consoles to market.
And
that
people
was
would always like point out that there was like a thing on the PS3 and they gave it their own like thing of death thing. I don't even know what it was.
Their
'cause
fans
I never
could
experienced
overheat.
it.
Yeah,
And I don't know anyone who did.
the rear fans could overheat. That was this story, and they did get super hot. And the PlayStation 4 had that same problem too. But you're not wrong. It never happened to me. I don't know anyone who it ever happened to. It's like it feels like it was a QAnon conspiracy. But like, oh yeah, well this one has this. Like okay, like
It's like no, I'm
believe
not
when I see
saying
it.
like it doesn't happen. I'm just saying like it feels like it was more rare.
yeah.
Everyone knew about the Red Ring of Death. Like
Everybody, dude. It was like I think it happened to my cousin like twice, dude. Like,
I mean, when I was working at GameStop, like all the time, I would
yeah.
get like, it's got this weird ring on here. It's just like, yeah, that's the Red Ring of Death.
So much so that it has its own colloquialism name, the Red Ring of Death. Like we don't call it what the official flaw is. We call it like Error 44. It's its own code. But anyway,
Should we just do a rapid fire before we wrap up?
Sure. Do you have a couple of rapid fire headlines?
Sure. There's things that we shared on Twitter throughout the last week.
Sure.
So
remember, and I guess I'll say before because we forgot to last time. Remember, we are at digital_graveyard on Twitter. We are the Digital Graveyard on Facebook. If you want to give us a like and or subscribe, follow us, tweet us, retweet us. If you want to take audio clips from the show and upload those to Facebook, we give you absolutely our permission. Spread this around. Much love. This is how we do it in the modern era. But go ahead, Bobby, with your first headline.
Okay. Yoshinori Ono leaves Capcom after close to 30 years. He was a lead developer on the Street Fighter games.
Oh, okay. Well, he's got how is he just retiring or is he like getting forced out?
No. Apparently in Japanese culture, they're very much like we don't fire people. We demote them to the point that they want to quit.
Is that what happened in this case?
Yep.
Oh man. The way I thought that they settled business disputes of this matter was with Hadouken.
That's great.
I got a joke
All
in there. What's the next
Shia
one?
LaBeouf is in talks to be in the next X-Men movies for the MCU.
Why didn't we devote 45 minutes talking about this? That's right. That did happen. God damn it. Why did I spend a half hour rambling about how insane the guy who made Ren and Stimpy was and not talk about Shia LaBeouf might be an X-Men? Shit. Remember that one for next week, because I have thoughts.
All right.
God damn it. What's the next
one? We'll remember it. Tony Hawk says he's more famous because of the video games than he is for skateboarding.
Yeah, as opposed to all the other pro skateboarders who are so famous right now because they didn't have video games. Come on. Yeah. No one's debating you, Tony Hawk.
Yep, a new Tron movie is in the works with a director I've never heard of.
Okay, neutrons are all well and good, but what about positrons, man? What about electrons? Why just neutron? Are they going to start an atomic trilogy here, or like a chemistry expanded universe in films?
All right. And
no, I know you said Tron, Bobby. I was trying to make a joke. I guess it didn't land. Go on. What's the last one?
No, it landed. I laughed.
It was well. Thank you. I just thought it would have a bigger reaction. I guess I was
wrong. It landed like I do a kickflip, but
okay.
But and last we have a new Star Wars holiday special.
Oh wow! Why weren't these the ones? These are ones that I would have felt good about talking about. We gotta save these ones for next week because these are all. I have thoughts on all of these, but we I do gotta start wrapping up because we're pushing an hour here. I do want to say right now because we forgot to do it last time, and I feel really really bad. Thank you again to John Wheeler and Sam Dunn for the use of our theme song. Thank you for Eric Castellanos at Eric Castellanos Art for our logo. You can also check him out as the Dapper Skull on Twitter. Or on Instagram. Once again, it is the Digital Graveyard on Facebook, digital_graveyard on Twitter. Swipe right on our Tinder account if you happen to be in the Twin Cities metro area. Where we're me and Bobby are the most generous dates. And other
We're
than that,
gonna have to actually make a Tinder account. Like if we keep talking about it.
uh, well, stay tuned for the next episode where we see if we did that. Anything to say, Bobby?
Not have a good time. I'm Bobby Digital, and he's Eric Graves. Signing out.